The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-21 is a supersonic jet fighter aircraft, designed by the Mikoyan-Gurevich Design Bureau in the Soviet Union. It was popularly nicknamed Balalaika, from the aircraft's planform-view resemblance to the Russian stringed musical instrument or O-cubed wick by Polish pilots due to the shape of its fuselage. Early versions are considered second-generation jet fighters, while later versions are considered to be third-generation jet fighters. Approximately 60 countries over 4 continents have flown the MiG-21, and it still serves many nations a half-century after its maiden flight. The fighter made aviation records. At least by name, it is the most produced supersonic jet aircraft in aviation history and the most produced combat aircraft since the Korean War, and it had the longest production run of a combat aircraft. Development, origins. The MiG-21 jet fighter was a continuation of Soviet jet fighters, starting with the subsonic MiG-15 and MiG-17, and the supersonic MiG-19. A number of experimental Mach 2 Soviet designs were based on nose intakes with either swept-back wings, such as the Sukhoi Su-7, or tail deltas, of which the MiG-21 would be the most successful. Development of what would become the MiG-21 began in the early 1950s, when Mikoyan-Gurevich finished a preliminary design study for a prototype designated U-1 in 1954. This project was very quickly reworked when it was determined that the planned engine was underpowered. The redesign led to the second prototype, the U-2. Both these and other early prototypes featured swept wings. The first prototype with delta wings as found on production variants was the U-4. The U-4 made its maiden flight on June 16, 1955 and made its first public appearance during the Soviet Aviation Day display at Moscow's Treshchino airfield in July 1956. In the West, due to the lack of available information, early details of the MiG-21 often were confused with those of similar Soviet fighters of the era. In one instance, Jane's All the World's Aircraft 1960–1961 listed the Fishbed as a Sukhoi design and used an illustration of the Su-9 fishpot. Design. The MiG-21 was the first successful Soviet aircraft combining fighter and interceptor characteristics in a single aircraft. It was a lightweight fighter, achieving Mach 2 with a relatively low-powered afterburning turbojet, and is thus comparable to the American Lockheed F-104 Starfighter and Northrop F-5 Freedom Fighter and the French Dassault Mirage 3. Its basic layout was used for numerous other Soviet designs. Delta-winged aircraft included Su-9 Interceptor and the fast E-150 prototype from MiG Bureau, while the mass-produced successful front fighter Su-7 and Mikoyan's I-75 experimental interceptor combined a similar fuselage shape with swept-back wings. However, the characteristic layout with the shock cone and front air intake did not see widespread use outside the USSR and finally proved to have limited development potential, mainly because of the very small space available for the radar. Like many aircraft designed as interceptors, the MiG-21 had a short range. This was not helped by a design defect where the center of gravity shifted rearwards once 2/3 of the fuel had been used. This had the effect of making the plane uncontrollable, resulting in an endurance of only 45 minutes in clean condition. The issue of the short endurance and low fuel capacity of the MiG-21F, PF, PFM, SSM and MMF variants though each had a somewhat greater fuel capacity than its predecessor led to the development of the MT and SMT variants. These had a range increase of 250 km compared to the MiG-21 SM, but at the cost of worsening all other performance figures. The delta wing, while excellent for a fast-climbing interceptor, meant any form of turning combat led to a rapid loss of speed. However, the light loading of the aircraft could mean that a climb rate of 235 ams was possible with a combat-loaded MiG-21 bis, not far short of the performance of the later F-16A. Given a skilled pilot and capable missiles, it could give a good account of itself against contemporary fighters. Its G limits were increased from +7 gs in initial variants to +8.5 gs in the latest variants. It was replaced by the newer variable geometry MiG-23 and MiG-27 for ground support duties. However, Not until the MiG-29 would the Soviet Union ultimately replace the MiG-21 as a maneuvering dogfighter to counter new American air superiority types. The MiG-21 was exported widely and continues to be used. The aircraft's simple controls, engine, weapons, and avionics were typical of Soviet-era military designs. The use of a tail with the delta wing aids stability and control at the extremes of the flight envelope, enhancing safety for lower-skilled pilots. This in turn enhanced its marketability in exports to developing countries with limited training programs and restricted pilot pools. While technologically inferior to the more advanced fighters it often faced, low production and maintenance costs made it a favorite of nations buying Eastern Bloc military hardware. Several Russian, Israeli and Romanian firms have begun to offer upgrade packages to MiG-21 operators, designed to bring the aircraft up to a modern standard, with greatly upgraded avionics and armaments. Production. A total of 10,645 aircraft were built in the USSR. They were produced in 3 factories, AZ-30 in Moscow, GAZ-21 in Gorky and TAZ-31 in Tbilisi. Generally, Gorky built single-seaters for the Soviet forces. Moscow constructed single-seaters for export, and Tbilisi manufactured the twin-seaters both for export and for the USSR, though there were exceptions. The MiG-21A and MiG-21 bis for export and for the USSR were built in Gorky, 17 single-seaters were helmed in Tbilisi, the MiG-21MF was first constructed in Moscow and then Gorky, and the MiG-21U was built in Moscow as well as in Tbilisi. A total of 194 MiG-21 F-13s were built under license in Czechoslovakia, and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited of India built 657 MiG-21 FL, MiG-21M and MiG-21 bis, design. The MiG-21 has a delta wing. The sweep angle on the leading edge is 57 degree with a TSA-GIS-12 airfoil. The angle of incidence is 0 degree while the dihedral angle is at 2 degree. On the trailing edge there are ailerons with an area of 1.18 mass squared, and flaps with an area of 1.87 mass squared. In front of the ailerons there are small wing fences. The fuselage is semi-monocoque with an elliptical profile and a maximum width of 1.24 am. The airflow to the engine is regulated by an inlet cone in the air intake. On early model MiG-21s, the cone has 3 positions. For speeds up to Mach 1.5 the cone is fully retracted to the maximum aft position. For speeds between Mach 1.5 and Mach 1.9 the cone moves to the middle position. For speeds higher than Mach 1.9 the cone moves to the maximum forward position. On the later model MiG-21 picoforwards, the intake cone moves to a position based on the actual speed. The cone position for a given speed is calculated by the UVD-2M system using air pressures from in front and behind the compressor of the engine. On both sides of the nose there are gills to supply the engine with more air while on the ground and during takeoff. In the first variant of the MiG-21, the pitot tube is attached to the bottom of the nose. After the MiG-21P variant, this tube is attached to the top of the air intake. The cabin is pressurized and air-conditioned. On variants prior to the MiG-21 PFM, the cabin canopy is hinged to the front. When ejecting, the SK-1 ejection seat connects with the canopy to make a capsule that encloses the pilot. The capsule protects the pilot from the high-speed airflow encountered during high-speed ejections. After ejection, the capsule opens to allow the pilot to parachute to the ground. However, ejecting at low altitudes can cause the canopy to take too long to separate. Some pilots have been killed after ejecting at low altitudes. Starting from the MiG-21 PFM, the canopy is hinged on the right side of the cockpit. On the underside of the aircraft there are 3 air brakes, 2 at the front and 1 at the back. The front air brakes have an area of 0.76 mass squared, and a deflection angle of 35 degree. The back air brake has an area of 0.46 mass squared and a deflection angle of 40 degree. The back air brake is blocked if the airplane carries an external fuel tank. Behind the air brakes are the bays for the main landing gear. Also on the underside of the airplane, just behind the trailing edge of the wing, are attachment points for two JATO rockets. The front section of the fuselage ends at former number 28. The back section of the fuselage starts at former number 28A and is removable for engine maintenance. The empennage of the MiG-21 consists of a vertical stabilizer, a stabilator and a small fin on the bottom of the tail to improve your control. The vertical stabilizer has a sweep angle of 60 degrees and an area of 5.32 miles squared, and a rudder. The stabilator has a sweep angle of 57 degrees, an area of 3.94 miles squared and a span of 2.6 am. The MiG-21 uses a tricycle-type undercarriage. On most variants, the main landing gear uses tires that are 800 mm in diameter and 200 mm in width. Only the MiG-21F variants use tires with the size 660x 200 mm. The wheels of the main landing gear retract into the fuselage after rotating 87 degrees, and the shock absorbers retract into the wing. The nose gear retracts forward into the fuselage under the radar. Operational history. India. Overview. In 1961, the Indian Air Force opted to purchase the MiG-21 over several other Western competitors. As part of the deal, the Soviet Union offered India full transfer of technology and rights for local assembly. In 1964, the MiG-21 became the first supersonic fighter jet to enter service with the IAF. Due to limited induction numbers and lack of pilot training, the IAF MiG-21 played a limited role in the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. However, the IAF gained valuable experience while operating the MiG-21 for defensive sorties during the war. The positive feedback from IAF pilots during the 1965 war prompted India to place more orders for the fighter jet and also invest heavily in building the MiG-21's maintenance infrastructure and pilot training programs. Since 1963, India has introduced more than 1,200 MiG planes into its air force. As of August 2013, at least 252 MiG-21s are known to be in operation. However, the plane has been plagued by safety problems. Since 1970, more than 170 Indian pilots and 40 civilians have been killed in MiG-21 accidents. At least 14 MiG-21s had crashed between 2010 and 2013. On December 11, 2013, India Euro-1 registered trademark S second-generation supersonic jet fighter, MiG-21 FL was decommissioned after being in service for 50 years. Bangladesh Liberation War. The expansion of IAF MiG-21 fleet marked a growing India-Soviet Union military partnership which enabled India to field a formidable air force to counter Chinese and Pakistani threats. The capabilities of the MiG-21 were put to the test during the Bangladesh Liberation War. During the war, the MiG-21s played a crucial role in giving the IAF air superiority over vital points and areas in the western theater of the conflict. The 1971 war witnessed the first supersonic air combat in the subcontinent when an Indian MiG-21 FLs claimed a PAF F-104 starfighter with its GSH-23 twin-barrel 23-on cannon. By the time the hostilities came to an end, the IAF MiG-21s had claimed 4 PAF F-104s, 2 PAF Shenyang F-6, 1 PAF North American F-86 Sabre and 1 PAF Lockheed C-130 Hercules. According to one Western military analyst, the MiG-21s had clearly won the much-anticipated air combat between the MiG-21 and the F-104 starfighter. Because of the formidable performance of the MiG-21s, several nations, including Iraq, approached India for MiG-21 pilot training. By the early 1970s, more than 120 Iraqi pilots were being trained by the Indian Air Force. Kargil War and Atlantique Incident. It was also used as late as 1999 in the Kargil War, in which one Indian Air Force MiG-21s was destroyed by ground fire. The MiG-21's last known kill took place in 1999 during the Atlantique Incident, when 2 MiG-21 aircraft of the Indian Air Force intercepted and shot down a Braguet Atlantique reconnaissance aircraft to the Pakistani Navy with the A-60 air-to-air missile. Indonesia. The Indonesian Air Force purchased 22 MiG-21s. In 1962, 20 MiG-21 F-13s and MiG-21Us were received during Operation Trikara in the Western New Guinea conflict. Indonesian MiG-21s never fought in any dogfight. Right after the US-backed anti-communist forces took over the government, the entire Indonesian MiG-21 fleet were delivered to the US in exchange for T-33, UH-34D, and later, F-5 and OV-10 aircraft. The MiGs then formed Red Eagles, a U.S. OPFO squadron at Groom Lake, Vietnam. As may be seen from its range figures, the MiG-21 was designed for very short ground-controlled interception missions. It became renowned for this type of mission in the skies over North Vietnam. The first MiG-21s arrived directly from the Soviet Union by ship in April 1966. After being unloaded and assembled, they were given to North Vietnam's oldest fighter unit, the 921st Fighter Regiment, which was created on February 3, 1964 as a MiG-17 unit. Because the North Vietnamese Air Force's 923rd FA was newer and less experienced, they would continue to operate MiG-17s, while the arrival of the MiG-19s from Communist China in 1969 would create North Vietnam's only MiG-19 unit, the 925th FR. On February 3, 1972, North Vietnam commissioned their fourth and last fighter regiment created during the war with the Republic of Vietnam, the MiG-21 PFM-equipped 927th Fighter Regiment. Although 13 of North Vietnam's flying aces attained their status while flying the MiG-21, many North Vietnamese pilots preferred the MiG-17 because the high wing loading of the MiG-21 made it relatively less maneuverable, and the lighter framed canopy of the MiG-17 gave better visibility. However, this is not the impression perceived by British author Roger Boniface when he interviewed for Knocklan and Ace Nguyenhat Kaiyu. From Knocklan told Boniface that the MiG-21 was much faster, and it had two atoll missiles which were very accurate and reliable when fired between 1,000 and 1,200 yards. And Kaiyu asserted that, "For me personally, I preferred the MiG-21 because it was superior in all specifications in climb, speed and armament. The atoll missile was very accurate and I scored 4 kills with the atoll. In general combat conditions, I was always confident of a kill over a F-4 Phantom when flying a MiG-21. Although the MiG-21 lacked the long-range radar, missiles, and heavy bomb load of its contemporary multi-mission U.S. fighters, with its P-21 Super radar it proved a challenging adversary in the hands of experienced pilots, especially when used in high-speed hit-and-run attacks under GCI control. MiG-21 intercepts of Republic F-105 Thunderchief strike groups were effective in downing U.S. aircraft or forcing them to jettison their bomb loads. MiG-21 aerial combat victories in the Vietnam War 1966–1972, sources, Hobson, Topacha. The North Vietnamese flew their interceptors with guidance from ground controllers, who positioned the MiGs in ambush battle stations, in order to make their one-pass, then haul-ass attacks. The MiGs made fast and often accurate attacks against U.S. formations from several directions. After shooting down a few American planes and forcing some of the F-105s to drop their bombs prematurely, the MiGs did not wait for retaliation, but disengaged rapidly. These guerrilla warfare in the air, or one-pass, and haul-ass tactics generally proved successful during the course of the war. In December 1966, the MiG-21 pilots of the 921st FA downed 14 F-105s without any losses. The U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy continued to lay down great expectations on the F-4 Phantom, assuming that the massive firepower, the best available on-board radar, the highest speed and acceleration properties, coupled with new tactics, would provide Phantoms with an advantage over the MiGs. But in confrontations with the lighter MiG-21, F-4s began to suffer losses. From May through December 1966, the U.S. Air Forces lost 47 aircraft, destroying only 12 NVAF fighters in return. From April 1965 through November 1968, over 268 air battles occurred over the skies of North Vietnam. North Vietnam claimed 244 downed U.S. aircraft, while admitting to the loss of 85 MiGs. After 1 million sorties and nearly 1,000 U.S. aircraft losses, Operation Rolling Thunder came to an end on November 1, 1968. A poor air-to-air combat loss exchange ratios against the smaller, more agile enemy MiGs during the early part of the Vietnam War eventually led the USN to create their Navy Fighter Weapons School, also known as Top Gun at Miramar Naval Air Station on March 3, 1969. The USAF quickly followed with their own version, titled the Dissimilar Air Combat Training Program. These two programs employed the subsonic Douglas A-4 Skyhawk and the supersonic F-5 Tiger II, as well as the Mach 2.4 capable USAF Convair F-106 Delta Dart, which mimicked the MiG-21. In the spring and summer of 1972, to illumine the theater of war, 360 tactical fighters of the U.S. Air Force and 96 Navy fighter, a great number of which were F-4 Phantom of recent modifications, opposed only 71 VPAF's aircraft was a militant. The culmination of the struggle in the air in the spring of 1972 was May 10, when the VPAF's aircraft completed 64 sorties, spending 15 air battles. VPAF claimed 7 F-4s were shot down. Those, in turn, managed to kill 2 MiG-21s, 3 MiG-17s and 1 MiG May 1911, 2 MiG-21, who played the role of bait, brought the 4 F-4 to 2 circled at low altitude MiG-21. MiGs quickly stormed the Phantoms, and 3 missiles shot down 2 F. June 4, 13, MiG-21 unit intercepted a group of F-4, the second pair of MiGs made a missile attack and was hit by 2 F. May 4, 18, Vietnamese aircraft made 26 sorties and spent 8 air combat, which cost the 4 F-4 Phantom. Vietnamese fighters on that day did not suffer losses. Over the course of the air war, between April 3, 1965 and January 8, 1973, each side would ultimately claim favorable kill ratios. A total of 1972 between American and Vietnamese planes took 201 air battle. VPAF lost 54 MiGs and they claimed 90 U.S. aircraft were shot down. 1 MiG-21 was shot down on February 21, 1972 by a U.S. Air Force F-4 Phantom piloted by Major Lodge with Lieutenant Roger Locker as his RIO based at Ubon, Thailand. This was claimed to be the first ever U.S. Air Force MiG kill at night, and the first in 4 years at that time. The intercept occurred near the Fisher's Mouth region of the Laos, North Vietnam border. 2 MiG-21s were claimed shot down by U.S. Air Force Boeing B-52 Stratofortress tail gunners. The only confirmed air-to-air kills made by the B-52. The first aerial victory occurred on December 18, 1972, kill awarded to tail gunner SSGT Samuel Turner, who was awarded the Silver Star for his feat. The second air-to-air kill took place on December 24, 1972, kill awarded to A1C Albert E. Moore for downing a MiG-21 over the Thai Nguyen Railroad yards. Both actions occurred during Operation Linebacker 2. These air-to-air kills were not confirmed by VPAF. The biggest threat to North Vietnam during the war had always been the Strategic Air Command's B-52 Stratofortress. Hanoi's MiG-17 and MiG-19 interceptors could not deal with those bombers at their flying altitude. In the summer of 1972 the NVAF was directed to train 12 MiG-21 pilots for the specific mission of attacking and shooting down B-52 bombers. With 2/3 of those pilots specifically trained in the night attack. On December 26, 1972, just 2 days after tail gunner Albert Moore downed his MiG-21, a VPAF MiG-21 MF from the 921st Fighter Regiment, flown by Major Pho M2A sent over Hanoi, North Vietnam claimed responsibility for the first aerial combat kill of a U.S. Air Force Boeing B-52 Stratofortress in aviation history. The Stratofortress had been above Hanoi at over 30,000 feet during Operation Linebacker 2, when Major 2A sent launched 2 Atoll missiles from 2 kilometers, claiming to have destroyed one of the bombers flying in the 3-plane formation. Other sources argue that his missiles failed to hit their mark, but as he was disengaging, a B-52 from a 3-bomber cell in front of his target took a hit from a SAM, exploding in mid-air. This may have caused Yuan to think his missiles destroyed the target he had been aiming for. The Vietnamese side also claims another kill to have taken place on December 28, 1972 by a MiG-21 from the 921st FR, this time flown by Vu Xuan Thieu. Thieu is said to have perished in the explosion of a B-52 hit by his own missiles, having approached the target too closely. In this case the Vietnamese version appears to be erroneous. While one MiG-21 kill was claimed by Phantoms that night, no B-52s were lost to any cause on the date of the claimed kill. Year-by-year kill claims involving MiG-21s. 1966, U.S. claimed 6 MiG-21s destroyed. North Vietnam claimed 7 F-4 Phantom IIs and 11 F-105 Thunderchiefs shot down by MiG-21s. 1967, U.S. claimed 21 MiG-21s destroyed. North Vietnam claimed 17 F-105 Thunderchiefs, 11 F-4 Phantom IIs, 2 McDonnell RF-101 Voodoos, 1 Douglas A-4 Skyhawk, 1 Vought F-8 Crusader, 1 EB-66 destroyer and 3 unidentified types shot down by MiG-21s. 1968, U.S. claimed 9 MiG-21s destroyed. North Vietnam claimed 17 U.S. aircraft shot down by MiG-21s. 1969, U.S. destroyed 3 MiG-21s. 1 Firebee UAV destroyed by a MiG-21. 1970, U.S. destroyed 2 MiG-21s. North Vietnam claimed 1 F-4 Phantom and 1 CH-53C Stallion helicopter shot down by MiG-21s. 1972, U.S. claimed 51 MiG-21s destroyed. North Vietnam claimed 53 U.S. aircraft shot down by MiG-21s, including 2 B-52 Stratofortress bombers. Soviet General Fisenko, the main Soviet advisor to the North Vietnamese Air Force in 1972, recorded 34 MiG-21s destroyed in 1972. During the Vietnam War, VPAF claimed 103 F-4 Phantoms were shot down by MiG-21, and they lost 60 MiG-21s in air combat. Egyptian-Syrian-Israeli conflicts. The MiG-21 was also used extensively in the Middle East conflicts of the 1960s, 1970s and 1980s by the air forces of Egypt, Syria and Iraq. The MiG-21 first encountered Israeli Mirage IICs on November 14, 1964, but it was not until July 14, 1966 that the first MiG-21 was shot down. Another 6 Syrian MiG-21s were shot down by Israeli Mirages on April 7, 1967. MiG-21s also faced McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom IIs and Douglas A-4 Skyhawks, but were later outclassed by the more modern McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle and General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, which were acquired by Israel beginning in the mid-1970s. During the opening attacks of the 1967 Six-Day War, the Israeli Air Force struck Arab air forces in 4 attack waves. In the first wave, IDF aircraft claimed to have destroyed 8 Egyptian aircraft in air-to-air combat, of which 7 were MiG-21s. Egypt claimed 5 kills scored by MiG-21 PFs. During the second wave Israel claimed 4 MiG-21s downed in air-to-air combat, and the third wave resulted in 2 Syrian and 1 Iraqi MiG-21s claimed destroyed in the air. The fourth wave destroyed many more Syrian MiG-21s on the ground. Overall, Egypt lost around 100 out of about 110 MiG-21s they had, almost all on the ground. Syria lost 35 of 60 MiG-21 F-13s and MiG-21 PFs in the air and on the ground. Between the end of the Six-Day War and the start of the War of Attrition, IDF Mirage fighters had 6 confirmed kills of Egyptian MiG-21s, in exchange for Egyptian MiG-21s scoring 2 confirmed and 3 probable kills against Israeli aircraft. During the War of Attrition itself, Israel claimed 56 confirmed kills against Egyptian MiG-21s, while Egyptian MiG-21s claimed 14 confirmed and 12 probable kills against IDF aircraft. During this same time period, from the end of the Six-Day War to the end of the War of Attrition, Israel claimed a total of 25 Syrian MiG-21s destroyed. The Syrians claimed 3 confirmed and 4 probable kills of Israel aircraft. High losses to Egyptian aircraft and continuous bombing during the War of Attrition caused Egypt to ask the Soviet Union for help. In June 1970, Soviet pilots and SAM crews arrived with their equipment. On June 22, 1970, a Soviet pilot flying a MiG-21 shot down an Israeli A-4E. After some more successful intercepts by Soviet pilots and another Israeli A-4 being shot down on July 25, Israel decided to plan an ambush in response. On July 30, Israeli F-4s lured Soviet MiG-21s into an area where they were ambushed by Mirages. Ashesna, flying a Mirage IICJ, destroyed a Soviet MiG-21. Avu Ben-Nun and Aviam Sailor, both piloting F-4s, each got a kill, and an unidentified pilot in another Mirage scored the fourth kill against the Soviet-flown MiG-21s. 3 Soviet pilots were killed and the Soviet Union was alarmed by the losses. However, Soviet MiG-21 pilots and SAM crews destroyed a total of 21 Israeli aircraft, which helped to convince the Israelis to sign a ceasefire agreement. In September 1973, a large air battle erupted between Syria and Israel. Israel claimed a total of 12 Syrian MiG-21s destroyed, while Syria claimed 8 kills scored by MiG-21s and admitted 5 losses. During the Yom Kippur War, Israel claimed 73 kills against Egyptian MiG-21s. Egypt claimed 27 confirmed kills against Israeli aircraft by its MiG-21s, plus 8 probables. However, according to most Israeli sources, these were exaggerated claims as Israeli air-to-air combat losses for the entire war did not exceed 5 to 15. On the Syrian front of the war, October 6, 1973 saw a flight of Syrian MiG-21 shoot down an IDF A-4E and a Mirage IICJ while losing 3 of their own to Israeli IAI Neshers. On October 7, Syrian MiG-21 downed 2 Israeli F-4Es, 3 Mirage IICJs and an A-4E while losing 2 of their MiGs to Neshers and 1 to an F-4E, plus 2 to friendly SAM fire. Iraqi MiG-21 PFs also operated on this front, and on that same day destroyed 2 A-4Es while losing 1 MiG. On October 8, 1973, Syrian MiG-21 PFMs downed 3 F-4Es, but 6 of their MiG-21s were lost. By the end of the war, Syrian MiG-21s claimed a total of 30 confirmed kills against Israeli aircraft. 29 MiG-21s were claimed as destroyed by the IDF. Between the end of the Yom Kippur War and the start of the 1982 Lebanon War, Israel had received modern F-15s and F-16s, which were far superior to the old Syrian MiG-21 MFs. According to the IDF, these new aircraft accounted for the destruction of 24 Syrian MiG-21s over this time period, though Syria did claim 5 kills against IDF aircraft with their MiG-21s armed with outdated K-13 missiles. The 1982 Lebanon War started on June 6, 1982, and in the course of that war the IDF claimed to have destroyed about 45 Syrian MiG-21 MFs. Syria claimed 2 confirmed and 15 probable kills of Israeli aircraft. In addition, at least 2 Israeli F-15 and 1 F-4 was damaged in combat with a MiG-21. This air battle was the largest to occur since the Korean War. Syrian Civil War. Starting in July 2012, after more than a year of civil war with no aerial action, the Syrian Air Force started operations against Syrian insurgents. MiG-21s were among the first combat-ready aircraft to be employed in bombings, rocket attacks and strafing runs with many videos recorded from the ground showing the jets in combat. The rebels had access to heavy machine guns, different anti-aircraft guns and Russian and Chinese manpads up to modern designs such as the Russian 9K-38 Igla. The first loss of a MiG-21 was recorded on August 30, 2012. Its registration was 2271. It was likely downed on takeoff or landing at Abu Duwa Air Base, under siege by rebels, by heavy machine gun fire. A few days later a second MiG-21, registered 2280, was shot down and recorded on video on September 4, 2012. It was likely downed on takeoff or landing at Abu Duwa Air Base, under siege by rebels, by KPV 14.5 on machine gun fire. Other Middle East conflicts. Egypt was shipped some American Sidewinder missiles, and these were fitted to their MiG-21s and successfully used in combat against Libyan Mirages and MiG-23s during the brief Libyan-Egyptian War of July 1977. Iran-Iraq War. During the Iran-Iraq War, 23 Iraqi MiG-21s were shot down by Iranian F-14s, confirmed by the Iranian, Western and Iraqi sources, and 29 MiG-21s by F-4s. However, from 1980 to 1988, the Iraqi MiG-21 downed 43 Iranian airplanes, including F-14 Tomcats, against 49 MiG-21 losses in the same period. Libya. Libyan MiG-21s saw limited service during the 2011 Libyan civil war. On March 15, 2011, one MiG-21 bis and one MiG-21 flown by defector Libyan Air Force pilots who joined the rebellion, flew from Ardabil and landed at Benina Airport to become part of the Free Libyan Air Force. On March 17, 2011, the MiG-21 suffered a technical fault and crashed after takeoff from Benina Airport. Horn of Africa. During the Ogaden War of 1977 Euro 78, Americans supplied Ethiopian F-5s met Somalian MiG-21 MFs in combat several times. In one lopsided incident, two F-5s piloted by Israelis engaged four MiG-21 MFs that were armed only with bombs. The pilots destroyed two and then watched as the two remaining MiG-21s collided with each other while trying to avoid an AIM-9 fired by the F-5. The Ethiopian F-5s claimed 10 Somali MiG-21 MFs. In return, Somali MiG-21 MFs claimed 4 Ethiopian MiG-21 MFs, 3 F-5s, 1 Canberra bomber and 3 Douglas DC-3s. Ironically, Ethiopia also received MiG-21s. The Ethiopian MiG-21s were used to bomb Somali forces in the final Ethiopian counterattack. Angola. During Cuba's intervention in Angola's long-running civil war, MiG-21s of the Cuban Air Force were frequently deployed to attack ground targets manned by rebel forces or engage South African Air Force Mirage F-1s conducting cross-border strikes. Most MiG-21 losses over Angola were attributed to accurate ground fire, such as an example downed by National Union for the Total Independence of Angola insurgents near Loina with an American FIM-92 Stinger. Despite extensive losses to man-portable air defense systems, MiG-21s were instrumental during the Battle of Cuito-Cayanavale. Cuban pilots became accustomed to flying up to 3 sorties a day. Both the MiG-21 MF and the MiG-21 bis were deployed almost exclusively in the fighter-bomber role. As interceptors they were somewhat unsuccessful due to their inability to detect low-flying South African aircraft. On November 6, 1981, a Mirage F-1CZ achieved South Africa's first confirmed air-to-air kill since the Korean War when it destroyed DAFR Lieutenant Dalmacio Valdez's MiG-21 MF with 30mm cannon fire. On October 5, 1982, Mirages escorting an English electric Canberra on routine reconnaissance over Kahama were engaged by at least 2 MiG-21 bis. A South African radar operator picked up the attacking MiGs and was able to alert the Mirage pilots in advance, instructing them to change course immediately. As they jettisoned their auxiliary tanks, however, they were pinpointed by the Cubans, who opened pursuit. In a vicious dogfight, SAAF Major Johan Rankin closed range and maneuvered into the MiG's rear cones. From there, one of his 2 550 Magic missiles impacted directly behind the lead MiG and forced it down. The second aircraft, piloted by a Lieutenant Raciel Marrero Rodriguez, could not detect the Mirage's proximity until it had entered his turn radius and was perforated by Rankin's autocannon. This damaged MiG-21 landed safely at Lubungo. Contacts between MiG-21s and Mirage F-1s or Atlas Cheetahs became increasingly common throughout the 1980s. Between 1984 and 1988, 13 MiG-21s were lost over Angola. On August 9, 1984, a particularly catastrophic accident occurred when the 9th Fighter Training Squadrons and the 12th Fighter Squadrons of the Cuban Air Force attempted to carry out an exercise in poor weather. A single MiG-21 bis and 3 MiG-23s were lost. On December 14, 1988, an Angolan Air Force MiG-21 bis strayed off course and executed an emergency landing in Namibia, where it was seized by local authorities. Since Angola did not request its return after the South African border war, the MiG was restored by Atlas Aviation and currently resides at Zwartkopf Air Force Base, Pretoria. Congo, MiG-21s, along with its Chinese copy, flew ground sorties during the First and Second Congo Wars, sometimes being piloted by mercenaries. Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia purchased its first batch of MiG-21s in 1962 from the Soviet Union. In the period from 1962 to the early 1980s, Yugoslavia had purchased up to 216 MiG-21s in 9 variants. From 1964 to 1992, about 80 aircraft had been lost in accidents. Yugoslav Air Force units that operated MiG-21 were the 204th Fighter Aviation Regiment at Bataljica Air Base, 117th Fighter Aviation Regiment at Angstrom 1 Havel-Java Air Base, 83rd Fighter Aviation Regiment at Slatina Air Base, 185th Fighter Bomber Aviation Squadron at Pula and 129th Training Center at Bataljica Air Base. During the early stages of the 1991–1995 Yugoslav wars, the Yugoslav People's Army used MiG-21s in a ground attack role, while Croatian and Slovenian forces did not have air forces at the beginning of the war. Aircraft from air bases in Slovenia, Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina were relocated to air bases in Serbia. Detailed records show at least 7 MiG-21s were shot down by AA defenses in Croatia and Bosnia. A MiG-21 shot down an EC helicopter in 1992. Croatia acquired 3 MiG-21s in 1992 through defections by Croatian pilots serving with the JNA, 2 of which were lost in subsequent actions, one to Serbian air defenses, the other in a friendly fire accident. In 1993, Croatia purchased about 40 MiG-21s in violation of an arms embargo, but only about 20 of these entered service, while the rest were used for spare parts. Croatia used them alongside the sole remaining defector for ground attack missions in Operations Flash and Storm. The only air-to-air action for Croatian MiGs was an attempt by 2 of them to intercept Soko J-22 Oros of Republika Srpska Air Force on ground attack mission on August 7, 1995. After some maneuvering, both sides disengaged without firing. Remaining Yugoslav MiG-21s were flown to Serbia by 1992 and continued their service in the newly created Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. During the 1999 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia, 33 MiG-21s were destroyed on the ground. Romania. Beginning in 1993, Russia did not offer spare parts for the MiG-23 and MiG-29 for the Romanian Air Force. Initially, this was the context for the modernization of the Romanian MiG-21s with Elbit systems, and because it was easier to maintain these fighter jets. A total of 110 MiG-21s were modernized under the Lancer designation. Today, only 36 Lancers are operational for the ROAF. It can use both Western and Eastern armaments such as the R-60M, R-73, Magic II, or Python 3 missiles. They will be replaced by a squadron of 12 F-16 AMBM fighters by 2017, with the first aircraft arriving in 2015 to 2016. Bulgaria. Bulgaria received a total of 224 MiG-21 aircraft. From September 1963, the 19th Fighter Regiment of the Air Force received 12 MiG-21 F-13s. Later some of these aircraft were converted for reconnaissance as MiG-21 F-13RS, which were submitted to the 26th Reconnaissance Regiment in 1988. In January 1965, the 18th Fighter Regiment received a squadron of 12 MiG-21 PFs, some of which also were converted and used as a reconnaissance aircraft. The 26th Regiment reconnaissance aircraft from this squadron were removed from service in 1991. A 15 Fighter Regiment in 1965 received another 12 MiG-21 Pick-of-Forwards fighters, and in 1977 to 1978 operated another 36 refurbished aircraft. This unit received 2 more aircraft in 1984 and operated them until 1992. For reconnaissance, A regiment received 26 specialized reconnaissance MiG-21RS in 1962, and in 1969 a Euro 1970, 19 Fighter Aviation Regiment received 15 MiG-21M aircraft, which operated in 21 Fighter Aviation Regiment and were removed from active service in 1990. An additional 12 MiG-21MF fighters were received in 1974 Euro 1975, with a reconnaissance version of the MiG-21MF provided to the 26th Reconnaissance Regiment and ex-Lotorani until 2000, when removed from active service. From 1983 to 1990, the Bulgaria Air Force received 72 MiG-21 bis. Of these, 30 are under option with ACS and provided to the 19th Fighter Regiment. The rest are equipped with a laser. This batch was taken out of service in 2000. Besides fighters, the Air Force has received 39 MiG-21U trainers, 5 MiG-21 US in 1969 a Euro 1970 and 27 MiG-21UM during 1974 a Euro 1980, another 6 refurbished ex-Soviet examples in 1990. In 1982, 3 MiG-21UM trainers were sold to Cambodia and in 1994 another 10 examples. MiG-21UMs were also sold to India. OA training aircraft were removed from active service in 2000. A total of 38 aircraft were lost in the period 1963 a Euro 2000. Known MiG-21 aces. Several pilots have attained ace status while flying the MiG-21. Nguyen Va Florin Nkasi of the Vietnam People's Air Force, who scored 9 kills in MiG-21s, is regarded as the most successful. 12 other VPAF pilots were credited with 5 or more aerial victories while flying the MiG-21, Pham Than Hanga Sent N, Nguyen Ha Ngnha and My Va Florin Nki Degree ONG. AAN Nga Sin Nga plus or minus, VAR copyright Nga CAA Permil NH, Nguyen Nga CA an unregistered trademark, Nguyen Nhat Kyu, La Than Hayao. Nguyen Florin Ng Car Permil NH, Nguyen copyright CSOT, and Nguyen Tia Nza Sent M, and Nguyen Va Florin N copyright A. Additionally, 3 Syrian pilots are known to have attained ace status while flying the MiG-21. Syrian Airmen, M. Mansour recorded 5 solo kills, B. Hamshu scored 5 solo kills, and A. El Gar tallied 4 solo and 1 shared kill, all 3 during the 1973 Euro 1974 engagements against Israel. Due to the incomplete nature of available records, there are several pilots who have unconfirmed aerial victories, which when confirmed would award them ace status. S.A. Razak of the Iraqi Air Force with 4 known kills scored during the Iran-Iraq War, AFI of the Egyptian Air Force with 4 known kills against Israel. For specific information on kills scored by and against MiG-21 sorted by country, see the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-21 operators page. See also List of Syrian flying aces, List of Egyptian flying aces, variants. Operators. This list does not include operators of Chinese copies/licensed manufactured versions known as the Xiong J7 per Fahrenheit 7. Information is based on MiG-21. A Bulgaria, a Cambodia, a Croatia to be upgraded in 2013 and fly until 2019, a Cuba, a Egypt, a Guinea, a India MiG-21 Bison, floor version withdrawn December 2013, MiG-21 Picker forwards withdrawn in January 2014. Remaining MiG-21M to be retired by 2015. Upgraded MiG-21 bis to be retired by 2025. A Libya, a Mali, a Mozambique 6 MiG-21 plus 2 trainers reported as refurbished and delivered from Romania, July 2014 from Aerostar. A North Korea about 150 MiG-21 PFM, MiG-21 bis and MiG-21U. A Romania will be replaced by F-16s in 2017, a Serbia to be retired in 2018, a Syria, a Uganda, a Vietnam, a Yemen, a Zambia, former operators, a Afghanistan, a Algeria, a Angola, a Azerbaijan, a Bangladesh, a Belarus, a Burkina Faso, a Chad, a China, a Congo, Republic of the, a Congo, Democratic Republic of, a Czechoslovakia, a Czech Republic, a East Germany, a Ethiopia, a Eritrea, a Finland, a Germany, a Georgia, a Guinea-Bissau, a Hungary 261 MiG-21 bis, a Indonesia, a Iran, a Iraq, a Kyrgyzstan, a Laos, a Libyan Arab Jamahiriya, a Mongolia, a Madagascar, a Namibia, a Nigeria, a Poland, a Russia, a Slovakia. In 1993, after the dissolution of Czechoslovakia, Slovak Air Force obtained 13 MiG-21 MAs, 36 MiG-21 MFs, 8 MiG-21 RS, 2 MiG-21 USs and 11 MiG-21 UMs. They were withdrawn in 2003. Some of them are in museums across the country, some are stored and will be used if needed. A Somalia, a Soviet Union, a Sudan, a Tanzania, a Turkmenistan, a United States, retired from United States Air Force after evaluation flights and aggressor squadron duty. A Ukraine, a Yugoslavia, a Zaire, civilian operators. According to the United States Federal Aviation Administration, there are currently 44 privately owned MiG-21s in the U.S. There are companies that purchase MiG-21s, MiG-15s and MiG-17s from Russia and other countries for sale to civilians for around $450,000. Draken International, located in Lakeland, Florida, is one of the largest private owners of MiG-21 aircraft. In South Africa, the type is being marketed as part of a joyride package for tourists. MiG-21 is being restored in Perth, Western Australia for supersonic joy flights. User Space Launch Platform, Premier Space Systems in Hillsboro, Oregon is currently conducting flight tests for Nano Launch, a project to launch suborbital sounding rockets from MiG-21s flying over the Pacific Ocean. Specifications, data from, General Characteristics, Crew, 1, Length, 14.5 meters, Wingspan, 7.154 m, Height, 4.125 m, Wing Area, 23.0 m2, Gross Weight, 8,825 kilograms, Power Plant, 1 Tumansky A25-300, 40.21 kilonewtons Thruster Dry, 69.62 kilonewtons with afterburner each, Performance, Maximum Speed, 2,175 kilometers per hour. Maximum speed, Mach 2.0, range, 1,210 km, service ceiling, 17,800 m, rate of climb, 225 meters per second, armament, 1x internal 23mm GSH-23 cannon, plus, 2x R-27R1 or a 27T or 4x Vimpel A-77, or 4x A-60M or a 73 EAAM or 2x 500 kg bombs, see also. Operation Diamond, Operation Bolo, related development, Sukhoi Su-9, Xiong J-7, aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Dassault Mirage 3, Dassault Mirage F-1, Lockheed F-104 Starfighter, Northrop F-5 Ares per Byte Freedom Fighter and F-5EF Tiger II, Saab 35 Draken, related lists. Iranian aerial victories during the Iran-Iraq War, Iraqi aerial victories during the Iran-Iraq War, list of military aircraft of the Soviet Union and the CIS, list of fighter aircraft, references, notes. Citations. Bibliography. External links, MiG-21 MiG-21 Fishbed from Russian Military Analysis, MiG-21 Fishbed from globalsecurity.org, Warbird Ali, MiG-21 page Information about privately owned MiG-21s.